So what we're going to be doing here, working with collections, is you need to have 4 thumbnail images, and then they need to link to larger images. And you can use your own photos, or you can go to Pixabay or any of the other royalty-free sites and download graphics. And the idea here is that we are going to be using the images collection with its various attributes to generate the content for the page. And so your end result is going to look very similar to this. And the only things that I actually placed in the page were the 4 images. Okay, and these are links that actually go to a web optimized photo. All of the content below the thumbnails was generated. And we're going to take a look at that code. Okay, so here's the section that has all of the thumbnails in it. And you can see that I also hard-coded the headings, kind of identifying the different sections. And the way this whole process gets started is when the page loads, I'm calling process name. Okay, so that is a function that gets called automatically when the page loads. And because I am generating content that I want displayed in this particular location, that is why I've put my script tag right here underneath the heading. And you'll notice that I did identify a paragraph here, gave it an ID so I can target it. And let's take a look at this first section. So this is what the first section looks like. And this is actually generated from alt text. So I've got contents, which I've set to blank. I initialize it. And then I get into a little for loop here. I am using the length of the image collection for the loop. That is the condition I'm checking. And I is basically my subscript, which is set to 0. So instead of displaying a 0 for a number, I'm just adding a 1 to it. Because if I have 0 cardinals on ice, 1 frosty, you know, numbering something that starts with 0 looks funny. So I add 1 to it so visually it'll look right to the user. And so this is taking the 0, adding 1 to it, putting a dot in there. And this is what is grabbing the alt text. And then so I have a little space between this entry and the next. I inserted 2 spaces using the HTML code for a space. So that is how it is generating this little list. Once I've got the list in the contents variable, then I'm just using get element by ID, and I'm targeting name up here. And I'm putting contents right in to name using inner HTML. So that is how I'm generating this little section. And then I'm calling process source. And you'll notice that I've got my opening paragraph up here and my closing paragraph down here. Okay, because I want that list to display right in here. Okay, so once it's done generating the text here, it calls process source. Okay, so taking a look, that is this section. Okay, so you can see that what it's actually displaying here is the source for these thumbnail links. And so again, I'm using contents and I've got it set to blank. I've got another opening paragraph here with an ID of source. Closing paragraph is down at the bottom. And I've got a little loop here. And again, I'm using document.images.length, the length of the collection, as the condition that I'm checking. Again, I take the variable I'm using for my subscript and I add 1, just because starting with 0 is kind of strange. And then I subscript into my image collection and grab the source. And then I'm following it with 2 spaces. Okay, so that is how I'm getting these different entries. Okay, then after we're done in the loop, we're using getElementById in our HTML, and we're just updating that with the contents we just generated. Okay, and then it's calling the process links function, which is down in this next section. And you'll notice here in the next section, instead of having a paragraph, I'm using the HTML5 nav tag, and I've given the ID a name of links because that's what it is. And this is generating the actual links to the images here. And so again, we have something called contents. And I'm kind of starting it with a line, which I got by pressing Shift, and it's below the backspace key. It gives you a little solid line look, and a space. Okay, so that's where these lines are coming with for separators. And then I get into my little loop. And each time I go through here, I'm adding to contents. And you can see I'm having to format the actual link. So I'm having to, in double quotes here, put in my HTML. Okay, and then this is where I'm actually getting the link from. Okay, this is using the links collection. And we are grabbing the href attribute out of that. And then I'm adding on that closing angle bracket. Okay, so this is the opening anchor. We're adding in the alt text for the text that's going to display between the opening and the closing anchors. And then we're adding in the closing anchor, a space, and the separator. Okay, so it's going to go through each one of those links. And so what it's doing is it's basically looking up here. And so this is the first link, and this would be the link at position 0. This is the link at position 1, the link at position 2, and the link at position 3. Okay, and we're specifically grabbing what's in the href attribute, which is media/cardinals. Okay, so you can see that we are having to kind of hard code the beginning, and then it's accessing through the links collection, the href attribute, the values of that, and we're basically formatting the rest. Okay, once we've looped through all of the images, we're taking what's in contents and we are updating the link section. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so you're basically using the images and the links collection in this exercise.